Now, we got a little bit of MJF news to get to, but first, we're going to start it off again with a little bit of quickness. Quick, rapid fire news as ESPN and AEW have reached an agreement as ESPN will be the broadcast partner of AEW in Australia, as AEW has yet to my knowledge, does not have a broadcast partner in Australia just yet. So the fact of the matter is, now AEW will have. I mean, it's a big get for AEW as far as international television rights, and it is a big help for AEW as far as international television rights. So that is big news in that regard. But also Blake Chadwick, or Blake Chadwick, who is known across the Indies as a well liked announcer, from what I understand, will now be called Blake Howard and on will take over announce duties on NXT Level Up alongside Byron Saxton. And from what I've heard, it's been nothing but praise and nothing but good things, especially from the Cultaholic guys, as the Cultaholic guys have said that they've heard Blake commentate before, as Blake has commentated for various independent wrestling companies. And they believe that Blake is not long for NXT Level Up and will move up excessively quickly. But right now, Blake Howard will make his debut on NXT Level Up tonight alongside Byron Saxton, and I guess we'll see what happens, because initially the plan was that it was only temporary with Vic Joseph and Booker T on NXT, as Wade Barrett was going to likely move back to NXT following the return of Pat McAfee, but Pat is still not back yet. I think it is possible that maybe Pat McAfee could come back following WrestleMania on a more full-time basis, but it is also possible that the reason why Pat is not back in WWE yet is because Pat McAfee has apparently had a lawsuit filed against him by fellow former football player Brett Favre, as Brett Favre also named two others in the lawsuit for inflammatory comments about about a Mississippi welfare scandal that also has ties to the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase and his sons. I will not comment on this because it is an ongoing investigation and it is a matter that now the courts have to settle. But as it was said in other videos, I do hope that this does not keep Pat away for long, but I do think that this might keep Pat away for now, because WWE may not want somebody who has ongoing litigation to be featured on programming. Again, we have MJF news to get to as we continue on. There has been conversation also about what Undertaker said to Bray Wyatt during the Raw 30th anniversary, when The Undertaker was interrupted by LA Knight, and then Bray Wyatt interrupted him, and then he goozled LA Knight. You guys remember the segment. There's been, everybody's been wondering what did Taker say, and I mean, I don't think we'll ever know what Taker said, but from what officially, but what Taker said he told Bray is basically that his phone is always on if he needs advice. Which is, I mean, I think if somebody like The Undertaker ever offered that, to give me advice, or basically told me that if I ever needed him, call him, I would 100% take advantage of that opportunity. Even if it's something simple, I would be like, I could call the Undertaker, and, I mean, I'm not going to say I'd, ask for him to come to my son's birthday party, but if I needed legitimate advice or character direction or a character question, or, if somebody wanted me to put somebody over, yada, 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 I would look to The Undertaker as, a mentor, because, The fact of the matter is, there's never been a question if Mark Calloway was all for what was best for business. And I think if Taker was in a better position physically, that maybe he would consider doing another match, or he'd still be doing matches, but I don't think Taker needs to at this point in his career. That's the other part of it. I don't think Taker needs to consider doing matches at this point in his career. But that's just me. One thing that has been rumored on and off for a very long time is WWE splitting up the Street Profits. With Montez Ford in the Elimination Chamber for the United States title, and also with the idea that WWE is advertising, or either advertising or shot something with Austin Theory still holding the belt. It seems like Theory will still hold the belt. So, I mean, it could change, and it likely will change. But the fact of the matter is, right now the question is with Austin Theory, with Montez Ford, is this WWE testing the waters for the Street Profits splitting up? I think I agree with Dave Meltzer, which Dave said in the Wrestling Observer, that there is no reason why they should split up the Street Profits unless they have something legitimately big planned for Montez Ford or for both of them, because you legitimately can't have them just do, you don't want to have them be Big Cass and Enzo, even though legitimately it would help having fresh blood in the tag team division. Unless you actually do have fresh blood in the tag team division, don't waste the opportunity of breaking them up, because you don't necessarily need to break them up. You don't necessarily need to break them up. Why do you need to break them up? Why do you need to break them up? Just because, you think you would be better off not having them in the tag team division? No, I disagree. You would be better off having them in the tag team division. But speaking of the tag team division, so I think that's something that we just have to wait and find out what happens. But I doubt Montez and Angelo will split up. I do agree that I think having them do something like the New Day, where they don't split up but they do their own thing, is something a little bit better than the traditional trope of a tag team splitting up, one going heel, one going face, because I don't think either one of them should be a heel. But we'll see what happens. But we got another thing, as Gigi Dolan ended up with a big bruise after seeing JC Jane turn on her, as the original plan was Gigi would get hit with the super kick and then sent through the door. But the door was not gimmicked enough for her to get sent through the door just by being thrown. So Jane kicked her through the door and left the bruise right on her cheek. Shook her up and left the bruise right on her cheek. It almost looked like a boot imprint from that. But with that, it has forced Gigi Dolan to take some time away from television, because it was nobody's fault what happened except the prop guys, to be fair. Because she went through the door, but it just took a little bit more effort, and it looked stiff as hell from the standpoint of watching it. So props to Gigi Dolan for taking it, and props to JC Jane, for laying it in there and making it look legit. So props to both women for what they did, and I, for one, am looking forward to how this continues, because I don't know that rushing it for Stand and Deliver, that being an in-ring match, would be the right way to go, but we'll see what happens. Because I don't think it's a one and done at Stand and Deliver. Something that I never thought I would hear, and if you want to, look it up, feel free, but during his promo, MJF told a story about basically crashing his car on the way home from prom and switching seats with his date, so his date took the fall. Like a Simpsons episode where Homer switched seats with Marge crashed the car, And I do believe Marge ended up in prison for it, because it would have been Homer's third strike. The part of it isn't the fact that MJF told that story. The part of it is that AEW fans called the cops to report what MJF said, and a number of people, according to Brian Alvarez, a wide number of calls were sent in to the local police about what MJF said in his promo, and the local police put out a statement saying that basically fans, that they believe that they will look into it, but that most of what the reports came from were fans reporting something that they saw on a TV show. So it is crazy to me that, I mean, that still happens nowadays, because I haven't heard that happening since the early 90s, when fans did that when Terry Funk put a plastic bag over the face of Ric Flair in WCW and tried to suffocate him, and fans called into Turner complaining. The difference is Tony Khan is not going to, limit MJF. That wasn't the case for WCW back in the day. But it's just crazy to me that this still happens. I'm happy about it, that it happened, because I love the old school style, but it's just insane, and I don't think that there's any other news to possibly end on other than this, other than saying we got the Rampage preview coming later today, and NWA Nuff Said preview coming tomorrow, so stay tuned for both of those, as the previews are one of my favorite things to do. But either way, I will see you in the next video.